Whenever an instruction manual is suggesting that the welder get on his knees and pray before using it, that gets me concerned. It's not the ugliest weld in the world. $100 for $100. That's like $1 an amp. If only other welders could work on this same pricing arrangement. What do we get in the box? I'm hoping a 100 amp MIG welder. Oop. Some spare screws and a 0.9 MIG tip. I've never bought a welder like this because, to be quite honest, I really couldn't see the sense in it. For me, 100 amps would be just too limiting in the stuff that I would normally do. What is this? Maybe. For the person wanting to get into welding and not wanting to spend a fortune, just to dip your feet in the water, curiosity got the better of me, and I wanted to try this machine out. I bought it with my own money. It was only $100. I figured, hey, what have I got to lose? $100, I guess. How do I get this out without wrecking the box? I think that's every bit of 17 kilos there. Wow. Gosh. That's, oh gosh. That is the weirdest. I shouldn't be too hard on it. I need to just wait and see and give this thing a fair appraisal. I'll be honest, this machine for me is low-hanging fruit, right? It'd be really easy to shoot it down in flames, but I want to be really fair and honest, because there'll be many of you out there who are interested in welding, who want to get into it and have probably seen this machine and haven't been willing to take the plunge. I'm hoping this video will at least give you a chance to be more informed as to what this machine is capable of and whether or not it's worth the price point. Man, let's get you down up from there. Well, that's always good to know. Self-shielding flux core, welding wire. What size did they give us? 0.8. Okay, well that's good. Should give you a little bit more bite in this welder. Oh wow. I mean, look how generous they were. So on the top of the box we have our wire feeding system. Let's just check this roller out. Okay, that's good. It's got the right kind of roller. This is, hopefully you can change this. Yes, you can. Well, that's good. Now, if you look closely, there's serrations in the grooves. That's really important. So we want the 0.8 to the top. Happy I checked that, because the 0.9 I think was the one that was showing up. Now this just goes in and spins around. This is our wire tensioning system. Now, screwing this in and out will increase the tension on the wire, increasing your grip. Too much tension and you will dent and groove the gasless. Gasless wire is hollow. It has the flux, similar to what's on a normal welding rod, but it's on the inside of the wire, which means it's hollow and it means it's soft. So if you put too much tension on it, you will crush the wire and cause it to become a little bit breaky. Another thing when handling MIG wire is make sure that you don't, once you unhook this, hang on to it for dear life. Because if you let that go and this thing goes loose and goes, it'll do, as we say, as what we call in the industry is bird nest, and basically throw the wire out at that point. I don't care what people say. Yeah, you're screwed. All right, we're in. Oh, that feels rough. Okay, we're past that first corner. I'm going to back that off. Now, yeah, you want there to be a bit of tension on this so it can't just free spin. If it can free spin, we're going to have that bird nesting situation happen again. And you want this to be tight, but not too tight. So I like to back it off on a new welder and start pulling the trigger and getting it to feed wire, and I'm just going to watch for slippage. If it's slipping, I'm just going to keep slowly tightening it until I stop seeing slippage, and then I usually leave it and never touch it again. Providing that the rollers don't wear out or fill up with gunk, which does happen periodically, you shouldn't ever really have to touch it at that point. If you're having to crank down on this to get it to work, your drive rollers have stuffed and they need to be replaced or cleaned. A little trick that a welder taught me was to get an ear plug and poke your wire through it and sit it here. That way, as the wire pulls off, it pulls through the plug and it just removes any dirt and grinding dust and stuff that would otherwise go through and shorten the life of your roller, wire roller, and the liner in your torch, because I don't think this is easily replaceable, or it probably is, but you just have to unscrew all this. I need to get myself a decent pair of MIG pliers. The first time you feed wire through, remove your tip. Holy moly! There we go. I'd have to say the first thing you want to do is ditch this so you can actually see what you're doing. You've got to hold a fairly tight arc, because many people don't know that you can actually increase or decrease your amps by increasing or decreasing the length of wire stick out. That actually has a huge effect on your amperage. If you're filling a gap, a bit of a hole, and you're blowing through, or you're about to blow through, increase your stick out. It's like turning the amps down. So holding consistent torch height while you're welding is also pretty crucial for getting a consistent bead. That welded. That welded. Eesh, that's hot. Ooh. That was certainly better. Well, we know it can weld 2 mil. That's a given. Let's try it on something a bit thicker. we're going to try and weld some 6mm plate. If I can make it all the way across that without this thing overheating, I will be really surprised. It almost feels like it's up to the task. I don't know. This could be really surprising. I'm actually impressed. I mean, apart from it sounding really funky, that's a really respectable looking weld. And we didn't overheat. I mean, it's really not that bad. Oh, that's hot. I knew it was hot. I'm just in shock. Where's my pair of pliers? Did the dog eat them? Now, I'm no weldologist, but the penetration is, it's bitten in, but we haven't gone very deep into the toe. Interesting. So as the final test, I decided I would do a bit of a real-life situation duty cycle test. There's sort of no point in just pulling the trigger and can keep welding until you melt the thing's brains out. That's not really a fair test. But if I could weld this 1.6mm SHS to the, I think it's 3mm steel, and not have the duty cycle trip out, and that would be a fairly good indication of the practicality, the usability of this welder. Now, why I bring that up is I've used welders of this similar ilk in the past, and to be honest, the duty cycle was so bad that just doing two 50mm runs was enough to make the machine trip out. Now, granted, they were second-hand machines, they had already had a pretty hard life, but it left a bad taste in my mouth, and I was fully expecting this welder to fail miserably when it came to this test, but it actually didn't. It just kept on welding, yeah, running still on that original roll of wire, and it worked. What can I say? It never overheated. I wasn't terribly kind to it. I didn't really let it cool down too much. I just welded it all out. The pluses and minuses of this welder. The plus side, the main good thing about this welder is the price, $100 plus postage. For me, it was $12. That's pretty hard to beat for something you're going to be welding thin material. Like if you bought a stick welder for the same price, there are cheap stick welders out there. That's a better welder for doing heavy work, but for this sort of thing, this little welder would be hard to beat for the price tag. Obviously, I wouldn't buy this welder if I was going to go into business. It's a weekend hobby welder. That's what it's designed for. That's what it'll be good for. But if you're thinking about doing anything serious, this wouldn't be your welder. I just wouldn't go there. But it did a good job. Things I don't like about it would be the lead. The angle of the torch is really weird. I like a bit more of a downward angle. on the torch. It means you don't have to sort of cock your arm up so far just to do a horizontal run. So that's a bit weird. The welding lead itself is on the short side. It's still usable, but I was having to shift the welder around a lot in order to do these jobs. But the machine is light. It weighs probably a third of my Lincoln 180C, and that's a heavy welder. It pretty much lives on a cart, that Lincoln, but also that welder, I made a living off that welder. That was my bread and butter for a while when I was in between jobs. So anyway, I think I'm going to leave it at that. Final thoughts, it works. It's worth $100, and if you're wanting to get into welding, this is probably the cheapest way you'll ever be able to do it. Again, you'll still have to learn how to weld. If you buy this welder, don't expect it to do those sorts of welds out of the box. That really comes down to you practicing and doing your part in making the welder run right. You need to know what you're doing in order to get the most out of the machine. So, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. So it's $100, it's 100 amps, and it worked, surprisingly, and to my surprise,